Hey. Fine, Tyler. We'll do it your way.
Oh, so it's a different approach, huh?
Well, no, I just like to do the cold open because welcome to the Wrong Button Podcast, the show where we talk all things nerd, most things video games, and genuinely anything that tickles our fancy. And guess what, guys? Bad Batch, episode 4.
A different approach. Huh? Huh?
Yeah?
Come on. It wouldn't be a pod without at least one of my bad jokes, right?
That was a good one. I know. Well, that's why I like to do the cold open of like, this is what we're doing, this is what we're talking about. So, Bad Batch, episode 4, as you said, a different approach. Once again, solid episode with a lot of like character growth. It was very lateral, but I think it was just really fun to see another seamless interaction with Omega and another one of her brothers.
True. Definitely a bit slower pace than all of the events that was the incredible high security prison escape that was last episode. Really, I'm with you. I loved all the interactions in this episode with Crosshair and Omega.
Mm-hmm.
Crosshair, for all of the wrongs that he has done, because you can go back and you can count throughout the first 2 seasons of what Crosshair's done in the name of the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
He's still one of my favorites. Not just favorite Bad Batchers, but favorite clones in general.
I'm gonna agree with you. I think just the turning point with Mayday and having Mayday be like, nah, good, like we were good soldiers, we followed orders, we're still here, we're still holding out, and he got to see. Sadly, he got to see the conclusion of him being a loyal soldier and what that actually meant to a clone who didn't, like we said this before. Mayday really didn't interact with any other clones. He only pretty much reacted with the Bad Batch, and he never once treated the Bad Batch like they were outsiders. I think the 501st really said, "Oh, it's Clone Force 99," but they didn't treat him badly. But every other force was like, "Oh, Clone Force 99, the defective clones." But hey, I don't know. I love that, and now we're getting to see. It was never that Crosshair was a bad guy. He was doing what he thought was right until it became so hard for him to see, like, no, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen to everyone. He's still a little selfish, as we saw. Like no, I'd leave you behind in a heartbeat. But as we see now, we don't necessarily get that.
Yeah, but everybody in a group needs to have that guy.
Yeah, they do.
You know, definite a-hole, out for himself, would probably leave you a couple of times, but when the going gets tough, he ends up making the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
Has he made wrong decisions in the past? We're not going to get into that. But yes.
Can I start with one thing?
Yeah, sure.
And this is mainly so Mrs. Spike can hear it. Heroes don't wear seatbelts, and they're always fine.
That was such a violent crash. It was. I sat there and it went down so fast, and then you just see the explosion. I was like, "Are they okay?" And they just hop out, and I wasn't
a little dirty.
I wasn't even thinking of Omega or Crosshair. I was so worried about Batcher.
Oh my god!
I was like, you got in an accident with a giant Lurka hound, who was just right behind Crosshair the entire time. I guess Omega's just a better pilot than we thought. Shout out our dearly departed Tech for bestowing all of his knowledge on her. Well, most of it.
Yeah.
But talk about character development in this episode. I think we got to see, for the first time, Omega away from the Bad Batch. Crosshair doesn't count because for the last 2 years or so.
Yeah, he's been a commando.
Yeah,
he's been a heartless commando,
and he didn't go through the same experiences and growing opportunities that the rest of the Bad Batch did. So we really got to see Omega in an environment where all of the skills that she's accrued really got to show out, whether it was her acting like a soldier from Echo, my favorite skill set she put on display is what she learned from Sid.
Oh God, yes.
It takes a lot of balls to swindle not swindle, but just to outsmart a Trandoshan.
It takes a lot of balls to go into a place where they're betting with no money.
Yep.
And hustle people. I do. So just talking about relationships. Before we go into more of the story, I kind of revised, and let me know what you think about this because this might trigger warning real quick. So going through the Bad Batch and going through their relationships. Hunter, obviously father figure, right? He's Papa Hunter to Omega.
Yep.
Definitely the father figure. Echo, definitely mom.
I'd make the case for Wrecker in a little bit, but Wrecker gives off too many crazy uncle vibes.
And that's what I have him. He's crazy uncle. And then I have Tech as the older brother. The older smart one, prodigy, like really good at stuff.
I could see it, yeah.
Crosshair was the younger brother. Still really good, but like was that like niche thing, kind of hyperfixation. Of course, he's the sniper, so he's there. But then Omega comes in.
And he got middle child syndrome.
Middle child.
Oh, Lord.
And so there's like the dynamic of their relationship. I am waiting for I don't feel like you guys ever appreciated me or...
Oh, it's coming.
and so I'm like, okay, he's just the middle child now.
That's actually the exact vibes at the end of the episode, which we'll get to later, gave out for me, was just his facial expression.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here we go. That's great. Honestly, that really fits into all their character personas. Even though that this episode was a slower paced episode, the amount of relationship building that we got between Crosshair and Omega and just the character development between the two in general was really great to see. Because with Crosshair, and I think we harped on this a little bit last pod, that he, like we said, hasn't gone through all the experiences that the Bad Batch went through. He doesn't really know what his life is like outside of a soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the rest of the batch are thinking about what they're going to do after all of this.
Trying to, yeah.
Yeah, trying to at least. And whenever they were on Pabu in last season, you got to see how their skills kind of translated to a civilian life. And you would know more about this than I ever would because, fun fact, you did serve for a certain country.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
it's weird.
Yeah, but so much is made out of like helping soldiers and stuff transition after their service has ended. And I guess this entire show has been like what happens to the clones because their service is no longer required.
Yeah.
So it's great to see Crosshair kind of start to find his way as to like what he's useful for.
Yeah.
But we definitely got more development on the side of Omega and seeing how she operates without her safety net. I guess she still had the safety net of Crosshair, but in terms of like structured safety net, how she operated with the rest of the batch, she had to make decisions on her own, and we got to see a lot of that, which I was a big fan of.
One of the things that I like going back to like seeing her without a safety net, I love that she and Crosshair haven't had anything like any real meaningful time together besides from like a 10-minute food fight, right?
Yeah, 10-minute food fight, and then when he was going through everything when they were in the cell in Camino, the temporary holding cell. And I think that was actually the most meaningful interaction that we ever could have had between the two.
So what I like about this is they speak the same language. It's almost like, okay, we both know each other's love language because we're both Bad Batchers.
Mm-hmm.
When he communicates to them, hey, they're after Echo, he sends that like, okay, I might disagree with my family, my brothers and I might not. We might not be on speaking terms.
Wait a second.
But we're a Bad Batch. Go ahead.
After Omega. I got you doing it now because you said Echo.
Oh, God. After Omega. They're after Omega. So that shows that he cares about, and he automatically was like, no, she is part of the Bad Batch. I disagree with them, but I'm not going to dime out my own. So automatically like that, the last episode, Escaping, hey, do you know Plan 77? Tech made me memorize all of them. Of course he did.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those, okay, so they probably have he knows all the hand signals he's going to use, all the language, all the code, all the phrases. How are they going to do things? And then immediately kicks over to, now it's going to be like, okay, but who are they as people? So it felt like there was never going to be the like, okay, well, I don't even know how to communicate with this person. Like they have something there that connects them. And I liked the fact that took away so much miscommunication. Like it was just going to be like, all right, we're going to talk, we're going to agree, we're going to disagree, we're going to work through this.
It's just the difference of personalities that really grinded, which was great to see.
Yeah, and I thought that was absolutely fantastic. But yeah, so and I love the fact that, like, how about we try solving these problems without blaster fire, and then just the middle child syndrome now just Crosshair going like, this is a massive waste of my talents. So yeah, I really, really liked that. I have one entire problem with this show, or one entire problem with this episode. The card game. You know what it wasn't?
What?
Pazak. You have no idea. I'm sitting there, and they're playing cards, and Omega's like, I'm gonna go up there and hustle him, and Crosshair's like, no, and I'm like, this is my Pazak. Fucking, it's a deck building game essentially, but I was just sitting there looking at it like, I wanted Pazak.
Yeah, I was kind of thrown off by that too, because it wasn't something that we, at least to my knowledge, have seen. Because in Star Wars, there's Pazak and then there's Sabak, right? There's two different, right? Or am I just thinking of Pazak all together?
I'm only thinking of Pazak. That's like my favorite. You can buy those cards on Etsy too.
Yeah, because in Sabak it's in KOTOR.
That's Pazak.
Or I'm sorry, Pazak is, yeah.
Yeah, Pazak's in KOTOR, which is great. It's like competitive Texas 21.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of how, like, was that also Pazak, where Han swindled the Millennium Falcon out of Lando?
Ooh, okay. All right, let me.
Yeah, see, so that's what I'm trying to think of. I'm blanking on the name of it, but
isn't that what Greasy Money talks about in? He goes, "What I've learned to live by is a stiff hand, or a stiff hand on an easy heater or something like that." And he goes, "It's a gambling term."
It is Sabak. There we go. So I was right. I wasn't going crazy. You can't gaslight me. Thank you very much.
I wasn't trying to. By the way, you can get this one on Amazon.
But in any case, it wasn't either of those. So I was just kind of curious as to, like you're bringing in yet a different gambling game. That's cool, I guess. Maybe, who knows? It looked fun. It looked really fun. Did they ever mention the planet that they ended up crashing on? Did we ever get a planet name? Because I don't think we ever did.
I don't think we did either, no.
You know what it kind of reminded me of, or kind of looked like?
What?
Aldani from Andor.
The first planet where he actually murders the people, right?
No. Where the heist is pulled off. And they
with the meteor shower. Yeah.
How much money did they steal from that place again? They lifted
entire sectors worth of payroll for a year.
Yeah.
I don't know if we think a sector is probably close to
like 10 planets or so, right?
Yeah, something like that. Like a solar system's worth of planets.
That's a lot of freaking money. Like, there's nothing I like, and we've been over this, but there's nothing I like more than some Star Wars heist shenanigans. That's why I like Solo so much. But that's your problem with the episode, huh?
Yep, it wasn't Pazak.
Okay, go off. I don't think I had any big issue with the episode, except for the crash, because I just can't get over the crash. It was so violent.
It was a really. I cannot find the name of the
game
of the planet.
That's fine.
Sorry, that's what I was looking for.
I feel like it's rare that they don't name a planet for us, but I guess they just leave it open to interpretation. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the introduction of that Imperial officer.
The biggest red herring for me Mrs. Play will tell. I was like, I know how this episode's gonna play out. Played out nothing like I predicted.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he walks in. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So Omega's sitting there gambling and taking the money from the Transdotion. And she's like, "Hey, we should play one more game. My luck has to run out at some point." And the Transdotion's like, yeah. And then they walk in, and Crosshair's on the side. He's like, "Hey, kid, like, we gotta get out of here." And he walks in, talks to the bartender, and you can tell one he gives off, like, when you look at him, you see like the chin rolls. He is like the corrupt cop, the corrupt
That's
police
how I'm
chief.
trying to be.
I'm
kidding.
I don't think this is the country where we want to do that right now. This isn't the 60s or the 50s after with the
I was talking about the gambling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not the whole Imperial officer side, but the gambling side. Anyway.
He walks in, talks to the bartender, goes, "Hey, business is good." Bartender goes, "It is. Here's your normal drink." He goes, "That means business is good for me." Bartender goes, "You know it is." Because everyone's like placing bets on who's going to win, and Omega at this point is hustling the entire place, and it's pretty great.
To the tune of what, like, was it 45,000 credits or something like that? Because
they
walked
50.
Out with
35.
So they walked out of there with 35, and the fine was 15,000 credits, right?
Okay, so 35, 15.
Yeah, so
50,000, yeah.
Am I under or overvaluing how much credits?
60.
Yeah, but like, am I overvaluing how much credits that really is? Like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, when I think of maybe like 8,000 credits or something to get a ship or something. So, and also when they were trying to get passage on the ship, which we totally skipped over, forgot about that little niche part.
Oh, yeah.
But when they were trying to book the tickets and they were trying to do it, under the table, the docking official was like, "Yeah, I'll get you on a shuttle for 15K."
Each.
I'm like, "Yeah, each," and it's non-negotiable. I'm like, "Oh my, that's so much money."
But if like you're thinking about it, like, so I'm assuming because of the distance, right?
Yeah.
And I know we're using like FTL.
Yeah.
Assuming the distance, I'm still expecting it to be like, we think of it like it's a plane.
Yeah.
But I think we should be thinking of it like it's a ship. Like it's like a cruise ship.
Yeah.
Because of the distance. So I'm like, okay, so you saying like,
it's not the distance. It's just, I'm trying to think of what 15,000 credits would get you outside of that,
Oh, okay.
And I was always of the belief that like 15,000 is like a good amount, and I thought maybe you could get a ship for like 10 or 8 or something, like your own ship you could buy it for. But is my concept of credits just completely off?
So I almost want to say it's like a 1-for-1 to us.
That's what I'm trying to think of.
With inflation. So like, I like the car that Mrs. Play bought me was like 36.
Yeah.
K.
Yeah.
So if you're saying 15, 15 will get you a car, but it might only be like planet worth.
Okay, so here's my thing then. You mean to tell me that Omega swindled that Transdotion and that Imperial officer out of $50,000? Yeah. They were gambling that much? That much money? That's
it could okay, so
that's efficient.
Theoretically, it could also be what it probably sounds like, because we're talking about new government, right?
Yeah.
Are they still using Republic credits or these Imperial credits?
They, in Admiral Rampart, when he was going over the chain code stuff in the first season, also mentioned over the holocom. I love how I know this off the top of my brain. But he also mentioned over the holocom that you could exchange your Republic credits for the Empire's credit currency 1-for-1.
Okay.
So it was just a complete changeover to Imperial credits. That's just...
So so then the other question I would have here is, because we're establishing a new government, we're trying to come out of a war, and a bunch of other shit. It could be Japan, where inflation's super like prevalent right now. So
you're talking like post World War II Japan,
like current Japan, like
current Japan.
So like in Japan, for every dollar, it's like 1,000 yen.
Yeah.
So maybe they only took them for maybe they only took him for like $30,000 in the end because of like
Because of
markup
inflation.
Yeah,
I know we're going
we're going really into this. This is the most like economics.
Yeah, most niche topic. But then let me reference from the original trilogy. Didn't Han owe Jabba like $50K?
We're gonna look this up real quick.
So you mean to tell me that Han could have just, well, okay, to be fair, Han's not Omega, and I doubt Han's luck would even go close to gambling that amount of money away.
14 million Imperial credits.
Is how much Han...
Jabba, like most loan sharks in crime level, the truth lending act and did not need to discuss the now 14 million credits is what Han would have owed him had after 1 year. Hold on, how much did...
I could have swore he only said $50K in A New Hope. Am I blanking?
All right, hold on. No. That's what I'm looking for, but somebody did a...
Of course they did.
Someone did a deep dive on it, that is... Okay.
Please do. See, this is the deep... I need answers. I'm like Sheldon from Big Bang Theory right now. I don't sleep. I need answers. Pop open another cold brew and here we go. We're scrap the Bad Batch podcast. Scrap everything.
Yeah,
this is
like,
Star Wars economics here.
It was his debt... Okay, how much did Han owe Jon Solo? New Hope. We can do this, guys. His original debt was 12,400 credits. He managed to go up 24, calling on some favors, which is why was for 10K. He later would pay Jabba an additional 15. Yeah, because they were gonna pay him like 15 to 20K to do everything for Obi-Wan. It was a really cush job.
Yeah,
and that's what he was going in for.
So you mean to tell me that Omega managed to swindle a Trandoshan and the Imperial officer who played after him 50 to 60K in credits? Like Han Solo, had he been there, would have like lost his mind. So anyway, there's your just Omega's just she's just an ATM.
She's built different, yeah.
Built different is an understatement.
Echo is an ATM. He can literally just go and get money.
Okay. All right. Fair. Anyway,
that's his talk hand. His scumpling hand. Scomplink.
You just get rid of all those clone morals, and the Bad Batch would be perfect heist artists. Never have to work a day in their life again.
Okay, so going into this, right? So we're gonna jump back into
into the podcast content
into the actual. We were on it. So he walks in with his case full of money. So obviously they're running a protection racket, right?
Yep.
And you can clearly see that where he's walking around like, do you want me to protect you? And so he's going to everybody to allow them probably to do some illegal shit, not pay everything, just pay him a cut of whatever it is they make.
Yep.
So he throws the case on the table, right? And flips it open. And I'm like, this is why they're going to do a bait and switch. They're going to
oh, that's where you went.
They're going to take the credits out of his case, put it in there, or they're going to like, maybe, and like, because you saw him walk by with it. There were 3 separate points at the beginning where he's walking by carrying that case. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, okay. They're going to like get a case, looks like it, switch it out, leave their credits in their like cutesy note. And he's going to be kind of like now in on like, okay, I got to get Bad Batch back because like they took my money.
Yeah.
And that's why he's going to work with Hemlock. And they're going to, boy, the fuck was I wrong.
I also was wrong because I totally thought once, Omega had won, that it was just going to be well, we're the Empire, I'm going to kill you now. It's going to turn into like a whole bar brawl kind of deal. Like that's where I thought it was going.
Mm-hmm.
But then he was just like, there's a fine for gambling. Go about your business. Have a great day.
And I
was like, oh, this guy's kind of chill about it, huh?
So the thing was, when he said it's like 10K for gambling,
mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, that sounds pretty reasonable.
I was going to say, I was like, I think I had also said like, oh, he's just going to make him pay a fine. Sure. Oh, they have enough money for the tickets still? All right, cool.
Yeah. But it was like, get the dog out there, right? Pay that. And I was like, I was waiting for her the kid next to him who was like, I got a sale. I was like, she's going to give him like 5K. No, motherfucker's in on the whole hustle too.
I know, yeah.
And I was like,
Backwater planets, man. You can't trust anybody.
I was like, oh, God.
Oh, Lord.
Trandoshans. whatever the fuck Greedo's characters were. Oh god, what were they?
Rhodians.
Rhodians. Can't trust a filthy Rhodian either. Apparently.
Kids selling fruit outside.
Yeah, can't tell. No, fuck them.
Fuck them kids. Anyway.
Michael Jordan.
But no, so we were both wrong.
Yeah.
And then they get outside, they still have enough money, but then Batcher's gone. And I'm like, oh, you can't touch the pup.
Yeah.
Batcher's a fan favorite. He's embedded. There are two things I need to survive this show. It's Gonky and Batcher.
Omega is going to be tending crops in some farm somewhere, clone armor in the back.
Yep.
And fucking, like, it's going to be Batcher and Gonky still with her. That's going to be the time jump after everyone else is dead.
Let's not think about the end of the series.
Oh, no, I'm thinking we're years down the line.
I know, but let's just not.
Okay.
How about we just enjoy the good times while we're in them?
Okay.
But yeah, so we got to see Omega's way of doing things, which positive results, negative results.
Yeah.
Loved when we got to see Crosshair's way of doing stuff. First of all, I love how that Imperial officer, again, like they get to their what do they call it, like a shipping port?
It was a shipping port, yeah.
Yeah.
With exotic animals.
With a lot of exotic animals.
So like you
Stuff I've
can
never
tell
seen.
he's got his fingers.
Oh, he's so deep in it.
And I'm like, oh, okay. He's the type of Imperial officer that's gonna go missing in 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be like, well, what happened to him? Like, oh, I heard he died and he's living on some cushy planet.
Yeah. Fake his own death. There he goes. But they find where Batcher is. They try to they break him out, but then the Imperial officer's there because, of course, once they heard about the shuttle, 2 new people in town randomly put 2 and 2 together. I just love how he started with the whole like the licensing fee for an animal fine.
We've pretty strong pet ordinance here.
Yeah.
How much is a license? 15,000.
Yeah, and I was like, is there ever going to be actual armed conflict between these two, or is he just nickel and diming Omega and Crosshair into the ground? But then he drops a line of like, oh, it doesn't matter when Hemlock gets here, and I was like, there it is. Here's the conflict of the episode that we're coming to. And Crosshair, I like Crosshair's way of doing things.
I do too. I love the fact that she tosses the money and like they go to back up, and she's like, fine. We do it your way.
Yeah.
And he goes, thank you.
And then pandemonium quite literally breaks loose. It's like a zoo.
Notice, he does not use Stunfire at all this entire time. And his tremor also wasn't there.
Or at least noticeable.
Yeah.
I might have... I honestly, I think there was maybe once or twice where he was meaning to get a different target, but not on those stormtroopers, for sure.
Yeah, well, I also think that was like the pandemonium of it. He's one person, he's trying to cover her, and there are multiple shooters. And a lot of multiple shooters. One
note about the Stunfire is that I don't think the rest of the Bad Batch uses Stunfire against DK troopers anyway. I think the Stunfire was exclusively like we don't want to kill the regs if we don't have to. That kind of vein.
Yeah.
But the human troopers, the TK troopers, they're just after their jobs. Fuck them.
Yep.
Pew.
And I love that Omega goes over and she's like, okay, we gotta get Batcher out. And then we're letting everything else out.
Yeah.
So Mrs. Play called it. She's like, those look like the dinosaurs running in Jurassic Park when they're running through the field and the T-Rex is coming at them. I was like, I can totally see that. And then like the whole stampede, that type of chaos.
See, I was thinking Stampede from The Lion King.
I think it was their shape made her think.
Yeah, shape. I see why, but yeah.
And then, can we talk about the best cameo appearance of the entire episode? The monster that Han was hunting in The Force Awakens.
Oh my goodness, I could not remember the name, but I saw just the tentacles, and I was like, Han lost like 2 separate crews hunting those things.
Yeah, the Rather.
Yeah,
the Rathars. Yeah.
One of the most underrated scenes in The Force Awakens, by the way, is that when he's negotiating with the one gang, and then and they're like, well, you also borrowed money and didn't return it from Conja Club. And he's like,
You
nuh-uh.
can't trust this smelly Conja Club.
And then they appear in the hallway behind him.
And he's like, you've done it to us multiple times, like 3 times. And he sits there and he goes like, what was the third or what was the second? Like he got the first one, he did the last one. He's like, that was probably one of the. It was one of the most Han moments.
Oh yeah.
That I was like, I could have seen that being in the Han Solo trilogy, like that moment.
And that's
somewhere.
why we need more Han Solo.
We
content.
do need. More
I know
Han
that
Solo.
Harrison Ford doesn't want to play him anymore. He doesn't have to because he's dead. Please bring the character back. Ever since we made the Han Solo and animation argument, that's all I think about now is that we need a Han Solo show.
Yeah, give me the rest of the movies in like 2 seasons.
Animation. Yeah. Boom.
Fuck it. Bring back this art style. Do it again. You already know how it all looks.
Yeah. Anyway, very very exciting. I love how they stole the cargo freighter because
Yep.
didn't end up needing the money for tickets anyway.
I like how they still took their money.
Oh yeah.
I
sat there too. I said that same exact thing. I was like, get the money, don't leave it.
And you know what the other thing was? I was hoping they were gonna get. I was hoping they were gonna leave their money and take his again. Still just took theirs, and I was like, God, come on. Why can't I just couldn't call that at all?
Maybe
like,
he took he put his other money in a safe place or something.
No, I think it was dropped right. It was dropped right south of the Rathar. It was there. You could get to it. But yeah, the Rathar are ripping him in there because Mrs. Play at the end was like, "Oh, he's still alive," and I'm like, I don't think he's coming back. And then like Hemlock's there with just the commandos,
yeah.
and she's like, "Oh, okay, you're right. He ain't coming back."
No.
I was like, "Yeah,
that's the one instance where we don't need a body.
yeah."
You're not getting away from that thing.
I think being pulled into Dark Abyss counts as body. Pulled into, not falling into.
Okay. I was thinking, did you just see my brain go into Boba Fett? I was like,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
about Boba Fett? The
yeah.
Boba Fett clause of is that character dead in Star Wars?
He fell in. He fell into it. That's the difference. He fell into the original Sarlacc pit. Didn't. Yeah. So there.
Boba Fett went out like such a wimp. He was such a just a badass character in Empire, and then he had like 2 seconds of screen time, basically. Not 2, but still.
You know, thinking about that, the Knights of Ren were literally just the modern Boba Fett. They just never got anything to make them cool, where Boba Fett was made retroactively cooler.
Yeah. But then we get they get off planet. They're talking about sending an encoded message to Hunter and to Wrecker.
Yep.
I love how we got the interaction. Interaction?
Yeah.
Interaction.
We got an erection. Got it. Okay. What gave us the erection? Go ahead.
We got the interaction between Crosshair and Omega, and the differing points of view, where Omega, being young, always the optimist, things will work out great, and then Crosshair, the pessimistic, I've seen a thing or two, maybe they could be dead, but Omega's like, nah,
they're gonna be there.
Yeah,
like you chill out, they'll be there.
And so you and I'm assuming both thought the same thing. Oh, the episode's gonna end right here. We're not gonna get anything after that.
No.
Oh, you didn't think that?
No. So before we get to the actual ending, because I know that's gonna be where the biggest point of our discussion was.
Mm-hmm.
Going back, one, I'm surprised that just the very beginning, I'm surprised that Crosshair didn't have enough forethought to scuttle the ship. Right? They hey, just set something to overload, blow the ship up, so you can't identify what it was, because the stormtrooper saw it crash and like, oh no, that's a violent crash.
Oh, the shuttle.
Yeah, the shuttle.
I thought you were talking about the freighter that they stole.
No, the shuttle.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that, because the second they did that, I was like, oh, well, that's how they're gonna know.
Well, he did have the forethought though, but Omega stopped him because he needed the Omega wanted the Navi computer, the coordinates and stuff to
and he was like, it would take too
Tantus.
much time.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's like, blow up the ship.
Yeah.
Like, there at no point did I ever think they were ever going to go back to that ship.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, it'll take too long. We need to get out of here now. And then I was like, oh, we should just that ship.
Yeah.
But to be fair, now I think they could get it based on that planet. They could triangulate it now because they have that planet. But that neither here nor there. So I thought that what was going to happen is we were going to get a reunion at the end of it. But then before that, it goes to, was it the reunion and then it goes back to Hemlock finding the ship? Or was it
It was Hemlock and then Reunion.
Okay, so what I was expecting was Hemlock goes, alert all of our operatives and set the bounty. So I was waiting for the like montage slash like, partition. So like first person here, second person here, because we know Cad Bade's in it, and we know that like
Aura, or not Aura.
Asajj.
No. I'm assuming Boba Fett could make an appearance.
Boba Fett, I think, could make an appearance.
Yeah.
Young Boba Fett.
But no, I'm thinking of from the Book of Boba Fett.
The sniper.
Yeah, and from the Mandalorian. Oh my god, her name? She was in the Bad Batch earlier this season, or not this season, but earlier in the series. A very young. Doesn't age a day though, apparently.
Fennec Shan.
Yes, Fennec Shan. There we go. Thank you. I could see that happening too, but instead we got.
Because I thought that was going to be the reveal of all the bounty hunters that were to come out. I was like, okay, we saw Bosk originally in Clone Wars. What are the odds we see Bosk again?
Did we see Bosk in Clone Wars?
Yeah, he was one of the Transoceans hunting the Wookiees. That's how Ahsoka met Boba Fett. That was how the advertisement put it. He was one of the Transoceans there. It was supposed to be his first hunt for the Wookiees.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Okay, I actually didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's in the original promo material of it. But I was expecting like the like tip the hat up. Okay, we got Cad Bane. Go through, give me like generic, maybe the assassin droid that we see. I was waiting for everyone we would see in Empire Strikes Back to kind of be there.
Yeah.
But I was expecting the last one to be being like how very interesting and lean forward, and we see the new do, and she's like tapping on it, and we notice that's Asajj. I was waiting for that to be the reveal of all the bounty hunters.
If that happens, I'm giving you endless credit because that would be a perfect way to bring Asajj back or to reintroduce her.
Yeah,
beautifully.
I think now if it's done, it's going to be more of a line. They're all going to go to him. It's going to be a lineup. But I was hoping for like that to be the end of the show.
I was really wondering what purpose the bounty hunters will serve in, and I know we're getting into more future stuff in this season, but I've been wondering what side the bounty hunters will fall on, if they're serving the Empire or if they're helping the Batch, or I hope we get to see the Clone Rebellion play out. I think that was kind of undetermined, and I think it still is. I think Cad Bane's gonna be like throwing his lot in either the Pike Syndicate or somebody like that. He's gonna be in it for the money and probably the thrill to some extent. But I think he's gonna be there. I think Asajj is gonna be the only one that's like bounty hunter heart of gold, but not going in with them. I think the bounty hunters are just gonna be like, hey, look, no matter where you go, people are always gonna want our services because we're willing to do things. Yeah.
But yeah, so we didn't get that. Instead, we got probably one of my favorite instances of framing since most of Revenge of the Sith.
Of the just shot for shot wise, are you saying, or?
So the episode ends with Omega and Crosshair flying into a new planet. It's a planet. Omega says, hey, I sent out the coded message. It's an abandoned planet. They'll be there. And we immediately see the ship. And we're like, fuck yeah, the ship is there. And they come in for a landing. And she gets out. And Wrecker comes out and runs up and gets a big old bear hug.
I'm getting chills to think about it. It's so heartwarming.
And then Hunter comes out and gets a big old, like, really tender, like, dad, I'm home. Like, very much like it was the Omega hug equivalent of the end of Ahsoka with, hey, mom, I'm home. Like, it was right there.
And when he said they never stopped looking, they did terrible things to try to find her.
Oh,
they stepped in the middle of crime wars.
They fucking went hard to find her.
I didn't think that we were going to get that interaction at all. I was dead set on the episode just ending like, oh, they'll be there, and then it fades to black. I was so happy to get that interaction between Hunter, Wrecker, and Omega. It was so heartwarming. But then they're like, how did you escape?
I told you, episode 4. Episode 4, it was going to actually be the physical reunion. They had to do it by then. Because now that's the whole first arc.
Mm-hmm.
And now we go into, hey, what's the meat and potatoes? What's the ending? We got 5 more episodes of meat and potatoes.
And then
downward slope.
If I'm remembering just the schedule, I believe there's a week where we get 2 episodes in the middle of the season, and then I think the end of the season it's a 3-episode premiere. I think.
Ooh,
yeah. So pretty sure you're right about there being 4 of the meat and potatoes left, and then it'll be the last 3. I cannot remember off the top of my head what the rest of the season's lineup is looking like, but I wish they just add like 50 episodes for the final season. Just an extra 50. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. So, 15 episodes. And we get the 13th. So not next week. The 13th is going to be that's going to be such a hard week for me. Okay. That's going to be 3 episodes, and then 2 episodes, and then the rest is just all the way up to May 1st.
And then it's single. But was I right about the last 3 episodes? Or
no?
It's just single by single by single?
Single by single by single.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Unless it's just a really long final episode.
Could be. We'll see. But yeah, the whole I had help kind of line, and then you just see Crosshair come into the ship entrance exactly like Obi-Wan was sitting there in Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
Hands on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Showing his thighs for everybody to see. Chad Obi-Wan moment. That's where it cut off, and I was so mad. I sat there and I was like, no, because the Omega Hunter Wrecker reunion, great,
yes,
but there are things that need to be talked about between Crosshair and the rest of the gang.
So there are totally things that need to be talked about, but can we talk about that? So they run over, and it doesn't look like they run very far. It looks like, and so the way it's framed, it's framed beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 2 sources of light. So ship 1, ship 2. We have 4 people that are easily viewable from it. So you have Hunter, who's back a little bit further, Wrecker, who's back closest to the first ship, Wrecker, who is a little bit closer, and Omega, who is standing the closest to Crosshair. Because if we remember from the first season, Wrecker's like, hey, Crosshair's always been a little bit different, but he's still a Bad Batch. Yeah. He's been the most, he's still one of us, guys. We kind of, next to Omega. Omega's like, no, we got to do what we can to help him. Yeah. He's family. He's just having a rough time. Wrecker was the hardest one to not come with him. Tech was full logical, nah, he's just, fuck it, cut our losses, man. And then Hunter was like, I got to look after my kid. I can't have that negative influence around my kid, right? So we get 2 sources of light. So, and I'm thinking here, right? So since they're both in the light, they both believed what they were doing is right.
Mm-hmm. And they, in a way, it was for both of them. There was no wrong choice there. You just went with what, like you said, what you felt was right. And for Hunter, it was a situation that was off.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that, the clones betrayed the Jedi, all of a sudden this Empire's here, there's an Emperor now. You're like, what the heck's going on? This isn't right. We need to hightail it. And for Crosshair, the war's over.
Mm-hmm.
There's peace and order in the galaxy. I want to be a part of upholding that peace and order.
Yes.
So from a soldier's perspective, there's no... And also he had the whole ramification with the chip and everything.
Yeah. And we don't know. He says he got it taken out far earlier, but we don't know, and it definitely felt like it was fucking with him the most.
It was still in around Order 66. I think he got it removed whenever they did that first scans and stuff on him, right before the Bad Batch escaped, because that's when he turned sides.
Mm-hmm.
He looked super... I still remember the shot. He looked super dope as the hangar door opened, and he had the sniper on his...
Yeah.
Just sitting there with a long barrel up, and I was like, dang. I know he's evil now. He's so cool. So I think that's when he got it removed, and then they used weird brainwashing, that weird science thing.
Yeah.
Camino science. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's when I think it kind of, that's when he made that commitment. But anyway, he, like I said, there was no wrong choice to be made in their situation. For the situation anyway. Morally different story. But yeah, that's kind of how I view like the fundamental shift in things between the two. You're right, it was beautifully framed, and I wanted to make what I think is correct to be the correct assumption that the planet that they're on with this meeting, I believe, is right outside of, it's one of the moons of Ryloth. Because we see a planet close to, if not exactly like that, when Hera made her appearance with Chopper, and one of Cham's, I believe his brother, was making like arms deals with the Bad Batch at the time, back in the first season. And the planet behind Crosshair's ship looked to be Ryloth to me.
Okay.
So that's where it's my nice. I haven't looked it up or verified it yet, but I think that's where they went.
And I just actually pulled up the last season, the last episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was a little bit wrong. It's actually Crosshair, Hunter, Omega right behind. Or I'm sorry, Crosshair, Rekka, Omega right behind him, and then Hunter back here. Now the other parts of this, right? So they're both coming from lights illuminating the ship. 1, 2. There's also a massive gulf between them, and Omega runs right over to her old family. And you see like the light from, even if you look at it, the light from Crosshair's side comes out further. He walks down the ramp with his hands are like this, right? The second the other two see him, Wrecker stares at him and like straightens, but that's it. Like he's going to get in front of to protect Omega.
Yeah.
Hunter makes a fist. We don't get to see more of Crosshair's hands, but I'm assuming there's no weapon in him, so I'm assuming his hands stay open.
Yeah.
So what it looks like here is he's more open to like, hey, I know I fucked up. I will reach across this gulf because his light extends further than the Bad Batch's light. Hunter and Wrecker's is more circular, and you can see that it doesn't extend quite as far. Now, of course, it can be ship lighting, blah, blah, blah. But the thing that makes it even better is that Crosshair's light has to come down out of the ship, hit the ramp, and go further. Their light's on the outside, so it should project further. It doesn't, which means there's the wall between them, there's the gulf, and that's how we end the episode, is like, how are we going to bridge this gap?
That's such a Dave Filoni thing to do. He's always been great with, what's the word I'm looking for?
He's great with imagery.
Yeah,
they're super great with it. He's always done an excellent job with how he always portrays like what's going on, how you can tell it. George Lucas did it like it was done in, when Anakin was walking away, and they made the whole poster for it where he's walking away. You see the shadow of Darth Vader because it's like he's not leaving because he wants to, because he's happy. He's already sad that he's going to miss his mom. Like Star Wars is full of this, and now we're trying to also get it
it's
with
like poetry because it rhymes.
So good. Love it.
But yeah, great episode. All in all, I'm very excited. I was swearing up and down though when it ended because I was so not ready for it to end.
Yeah, like I said, I wanted the bam, 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 bam of all the bounty hunters that we were going to see, all the cameos.
I just need this conversation to take place. I can't wait for Wednesday. I really can't.
Yeah. So that's when we'll be back. We're going to watch it Wednesday. And then we'll be back next Friday, the 8th. And this episode, of course, will be available tomorrow on all your podcast platforms of choice. Of course, if you really enjoy this podcast, also check it out on the YouTube channel where you can once again see our lovely faces. Anything you want to end on?
That this is the second of 3 podcasts where I've accidentally worn a Star Wars shirt unintentionally. I just go to work like this, so I'm a big Star Wars fan. I like to display that. But totally just unintentional. I guess I have to make it an intentional thing now. So look forward to me across the rest of the podcast coming up with more Star Wars merch.
More Star Wars merch?
Yeah.
All right. If you guys enjoyed this, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Take care of your friends here and your friends elsewhere. Remember, you're all winners out there. Keep it weird and have a fantastic rest of your day, everybody.
Woo!